Two of the world's most influential people just did something that has triggered a global gold rush. Today, we're going to be explaining why this global gold rush, combined with Trump's tariffs and Elon Musk's plan to audit the Fort Knox gold bullion repository, could trigger a $1 million Bitcoin. Now, I know this sounds absolutely crazy, but you're going to want to stick around to see everything we've lined up today, which begins with the clip that is absolutely breaking the internet by Glenn Beck. Let's check it out.
Starts with gold, and I've been following the COMEX. There's something going on with gold, and nobody really knows what it is. Somebody here in the United States is buying a crap load of gold. We think, I hope, it's the Treasury or the central bank, the Fed. But somebody is taking huge physical deliveries, and it's causing shortages in London, where they buy and sell gold. There's shortages now of gold because somebody is buying it and shipping it here. Somebody with very deep pockets. Okay, so why? Now, this is all theory. That's fact. Here's the theory of what's going on. They're preparing for a full-on gold audit. We talked about this yesterday. The government right now claims on its balance sheet as an asset all of this gold, and it's valued at $45 an ounce. In case you haven't heard, it's $2,900 an ounce. So they're talking now about boosting the price of gold, at least market to market, but maybe even making it $5,000 an ounce, okay? If that happens, the balance sheet starts to fall into line, and our debt to GDP is not as bad as it really is right now, okay? Just start claiming the truth about.
And this is where the Bitcoiners' take comes in. I don't think there is any gold. I don't think that gold isn't there. I think they're freaking the F out because of this tweet that came out from Zero Hedge. Also, shout out to Zero Hedge because they published an article about Simply Bitcoin getting deplatformed. So I appreciate y'all. But Zero Hedge said it would be great if Elon Musk could take a look inside Fort Knox just to make sure that the 4,580 tons of US gold is there. Last time anyone looked was 50 years ago in 1974. Elon Musk said, surely it's reviewed at least every year. And Zero Hedge said it should, but it isn't. And just connect the dots with what Glenn Beck was saying. Now, the Bitcoin Senator Cynthia Lummis, said Bitcoin fixes this. A Bitcoin reserve could be audited anytime, 24/7 with a basic computer. It's time to upgrade our reserves. Now, here's Walker America from the name of his podcast, The Bitcoin Podcast. And he says, here's what's going to happen. Elon pushes Trump to audit Fort Knox. Audit reveals there is less than 500 tons of gold. By the way, listen, okay? Why hasn't anyone seen the gold for 50 years? It's kind of like what's been happening with the whole USAID stuff, right? And all the arguments against the audit of USAID and what they're doing, what Elon Musk is doing, is like, listen. The government could audit you. If the government doesn't audit you, you go to jail if you refuse that audit. But you can't refuse the government can refuse you auditing, you wanting to audit them, right? The only reason the government would not want you to audit them is because they have something to hide. And what Elon has been discovering with Doge, has been it's been insane, the amount of fraud and the amount of abuse that has occurred so far. Just to put it gently. Anyways, it goes on to say, Trump realizes China and Russia have way more gold than the US, but very little Bitcoin. Trump issues an executive order for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, citing national security. Money printer goes burr. US buys as much Bitcoin as the market will sell. Price of gold collapses in BTC terms. China and Russia realize Trump got the jump on them and started to acquire Bitcoin. Price of gold collapses further. Peter Schiff is admitted to a mental hospital. Now, moving on to and this is already proven it could be done, right? So Senator Lummis was talking about how, essentially if you have a Bitcoin reserve, it could be completely audited at any time. Here is El Salvador's Bitcoin reserve by the Bitcoin office. Shout out Max Kaiser and Stacy Herbert. And you can audit it. It's there. And you could put in the address of El Salvador's Bitcoin reserve. And as you could see, anyone could audit it at any time. You don't have to trust the government. The fact that the American people have not been able to see the gold at Fort Knox for 50 years. And the only thing they've been telling us is, trust me, bro. And we've tried the trust me, bro. And look at what's been discovered with the USAID. Look at all they've been sending hundreds of millions, billions of dollars to pay for all these projects that you wouldn't agree on. You'd be like, that's insane. Why am I paying for this? And it's because of corruption. It's because it's easy to take a little bit off the top if, it's all obfuscated behind bureaucracy, right? And if you can't audit it, right? With Bitcoin, you can audit it. And I actually took the time to write this morning as to why the only way we can achieve a level of radical transparency, if a country truly wants to hold a reserve of anything on behalf of their citizens, it has to be in Bitcoin. If it's not in Bitcoin, it will and has been abused. Because think about it. How hard would it be to audit that gold in Fort Knox? Think about it. You would literally have to individually take each bar of gold and see if it's not just wrapped in gold and the inside of it is tungsten. There would be no way to verify it. So I think the moment that the American people lose confidence, and I think they are losing confidence. I think that's what this whole Doge thing is uncovering, is that the government has been using their monopoly on violence and their unique ability to create money for free that everyone else has to work for to enrich themselves. And it leads to the question of not only what is money, but what is government? And I think something that Bitcoiners inherently understand is that it's human nature. No one should have the ability to create money for free that everyone else has to work for. And it's also human nature that if you're going to hold an asset on behalf of the people of that said country, if that asset is not constantly being watched, if it's not constantly being looked at and audited and instantaneously, without having to rely on the government that is holding it, it's going to be abused. And I think that if this audit of the supposed gold at Fort Knox goes through and there's significantly less gold than they say there is, I think there's going to be a huge loss of confidence in gold as a potential reserve. And this is where Bitcoin's the only thing that could be held by a government on behalf of its people that could be audited instantaneously all the time, 24/7, making it incredibly difficult for a politician or for a government or for the government itself to take a little bit off the top, and no one will notice because no one is looking, right? And this is what El Salvador is proving with their Bitcoin reserve. So I wrote a piece about this in the morning. I said the Fort Knox, and this is something very interesting about Fort Knox that perhaps a lot of people don't know, and it's very interconnected with the 6102 order, by the way. The Fort Knox Gold Depository was built specifically to store the gold confiscated from the American people through Executive Order 6102. This order, issued in 1933, forced U.S. citizens to surrender their gold under the pretense of economic stabilization, concentrating the country's wealth in government hands. If Elon Musk's proposed audit were to reveal that Fort Knox holds less gold than officially reported, it would provide undeniable proof that the U.S. government used its monopoly on force to steal from its own citizens, not for the people's benefit, but to enrich itself. This would expose the fundamental flaw of centralized reserves. A lack of transparency allows those in power to manipulate and siphon wealth without oversight. The only way to ensure accountability in a national reserve is through radical transparency, where the people can audit holdings in real time without requiring government permission. However, this level of transparency is only possible with Bitcoin. Unlike gold or fiat reserves, Bitcoin operates on an open, verifiable ledger. Anyone, anywhere can independently verify a country's Bitcoin holdings in real time, preventing fraud, mismanagement, or hidden dilution. El Salvador has already proven this is possible. Its Bitcoin reserves are fully auditable by the public at any time. No government-controlled asset, whether gold, fiat, or foreign reserves, can match this level of trust. Bitcoin is the only reserve asset that guarantees absolute transparency and prevents state theft. And I think that when this audit goes through, my gut, my intuition, listen, if they had nothing to hide, why hasn't it been 50 effing years since we saw a picture of one of the vaults at Fort Knox? Simultaneously, El Salvador, a small country in Central America with a total GDP of 33 billion, right? Elon's net worth is 450 billion, just to kind of give you an idea, right? Is doing it better than the United States of America, okay? There is absolutely no reason as to why we cannot see the gold in Fort Knox. And if the excuses coming out, right, the excuse against the Doge audits are any type of symbolism, any type of idea of what's to come, I mean, what has been the arguments against the Doge audits of all these federal agencies? What has been the argument? There hasn't been any good arguments. If the government can audit us, and if we don't comply, we go to prison, why can't we audit the government? We fund them. Our tax dollars fund them. They supposedly work for us, right? So I think if this goes through and it uncovers the thing that I think we all knew was happening the entire time, and I think Doge is uncovering what we knew was happening the entire time, the whole time, I think people are going to lose confidence in gold's ability to be a reserve. And I think that if people lose confidence in gold's ability to be a reserve, a true reserve, what is the only alternative? The only alternative is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only reserve asset that allows radical transparency. It's the only reserve asset where the government could hold it on behalf of the American people, and individuals don't have to ask the government to verify that said Bitcoin is there. It doesn't operate on a trust me, bro. It operates on a don't trust, verify me, bro, right? So anyways, I think this is incredibly bullish. Like we've been saying for a very long time, all roads lead to Bitcoin. It's a superior asset. Its characteristics make it better than gold. Not to mention, it has absolute scarcity. I think this Fort Knox controversy and scandal is going to be enormous. I think it's going to make what has been happening with USAID a drop in the bucket. Because think about why Fort Knox was built. Think about the symbolism, the power of the symbolism behind this for a second. Fort Knox was specifically built to house the gold that was confiscated by the US government with the 6102 order. It was specifically built for that reason. And could you imagine what happens when that gold is audited and that gold isn't there? Where was it? It was stolen. Supposedly. We don't know for sure. But I'll tell you what, man, like we haven't been able to see it for 50 years. Why? For national security reasons? Like what's the reasoning there? There is no good reasoning. And they tried to gaslight us with all these government agencies being audited. They tried to throw the same reasons at us. One of the reasons was privacy. You don't want privacy, all your private details in the hands of Elon Musk. Simultaneously, these are the same people that tried to pass legislation 2 years ago that would audit every $600 transaction that you would conduct. So the same people that are lecturing you, about how you can't audit the government because of privacy reasons are trying to pass legislation to audit every $600 transaction you conduct. You know what that feels like to me? That feels like projection. They're projecting onto us what it is they're guilty of themselves. So I can't wait for this audit. I hope I'm proven wrong. But if I'm proven right, all roads lead to Bitcoin. It is the only reserve asset that is going to allow radical transparency. And without radical transparency, you're going to get corruption and abuses and mismanagement. It's just plain and simple. If no one is looking, it's human nature. It's human nature. Not everyone has integrity. Not everyone has morals. If no one's looking, it's human nature. For some people, just take a little bit off the top. Right. And then before you know it, if you do that for 50 years, it's all gone. Right. Anyways, I'm going to pass it on to Opti. Opti, what do you think? This has me fired up, bro. We've been covering this. Man, it's so symbolic. It's so symbolic, especially from a Bitcoiner's perspective, because Fort Knox was built for the 6102 order. It was literally built for the 6102 order. And now we're on the verge of a potential audit of Fort Knox. And that gold might not be there. So the gold that was stolen from the American people, it's not there anymore. Where did it go? Anyways, Opti, what's your take?
Yeah, well, I mean, as a Bitcoiner, I'm assuming that the gold isn't actually in Fort Knox. And if you really consider kind of what Glenn Beck was saying in that original clip, and we've been kind of covering this and we've been following this on Twitter for a long time, the Bank of England has been having a hard time settling a lot of their physical gold reserves. And it's causing chaos in the gold markets. Obviously, you guys have probably heard, we've talked about it on the show, gold is hitting all-time high per ounce right now. So when you see a hard money or, an asset, a commodity like gold start to go up, not only does that, in my opinion, mean that Bitcoin will shortly follow soon, but that just means that there is a lot of uncertainty and concerns in the markets, period. And we've been covering this for a long time, that there seems to be cracks in the fiat system. And now we're kind of going back to like the original, like the, the original bomb that created Bitcoin in the first place, which is what happened with gold. 1971, there's the classic, WTF happened in 1971. This has been a long domino effect that's been playing out since 1913 or even further, since the creation of the Federal Reserve, et cetera, or, pre-World War I, exactly. And so we're seeing all of this stuff start to play out. And it's been 100 years of us living in this really fake monetary environment. And the culmination of that was, of course, fiat currencies. Like, this is where, as a Bitcoiner, we always talk about the fact that gold has failed as a monetary, asset or a monetary instrument. And this is why we ended up with paper money in the first place, is because if you allow people to centralize the commodity or the gold themselves, then they usually, issue more gold or more paper than the actual commodity that they're holding. And now we've gotten to this point now where it's even being talked about that we might audit Fort Knox, that we might end the Fed, which is absolutely crazy. Now, of course, this is still kind of speculation, and these are all alleged concerns here. But the fact that, well, no, I'm not talking about the Fort Knox. I'm talking about potentially auditing Fort Knox is what I meant to say. And so I think, though, the conversation is a very defining contrast that we're seeing ourselves in. Like Nico was saying, Fort Knox hasn't been audited in 50 years. And the best, verification that we got was a picture, black and white picture about the gold being held in Fort Knox.
Of one of the vaults, bro.
Yeah, one of the vaults. And now
the smallest one. fun.
Yeah, and now we've gotten to a point, and this is the comparison. Now we've gotten to the point where even if we did, quote unquote, see pictures of what's going on in Fort Knox, that doesn't even fully confirm or verify whether all that gold in those vaults is actually gold in and of itself. You know, it could be like tungsten wrapped with gold. You know, it could be lead wrapped with gold. And therefore, like a picture of it, or someone said in the chat, you know, with AI, could you even trust these pictures right now? And so this is like the defining conversation. And if this does happen, I think it should be one of these huge moments in monetary history where it kind of exposes the fraud of modern banking, the frauds of modern governments. Because if you compare the system of, hey, we haven't audited Fort Knox in the past 50 years, Bitcoin gets audited every 10 minutes. And I don't know, if you look at these two systems side by side, it's almost a no-brainer into why us Bitcoiners are Bitcoiners, because we don't have to trust, even if they do an official audit, like we still have to trust that the auditors are actually telling the truth. Whereas in Bitcoin, you run a node, the network is verified every 10 minutes, it's audited every 10 minutes or roughly every 10 minutes. And just a side-by-side comparison via gold and Bitcoin, it just goes to show that Bitcoin is a superior money technology. And I know, you know, gold's physical and people still want something physical, etc. But personally, the way I look at it, like gold failed. And this is why we are in a fiat monetary system that we are right now. The world has been completely detached from reality, which was the gold standard, and they issued so much paper. And now we're getting to this point where the cracks in the system are showing, and people do want to revert back to kind of a system that was trusted, that did work for a long time, aka, you know, a gold money standard. But we've gotten to this point now where we have a better monetary technology, which is Bitcoin. And so if you compare these two, it seems like a no-brainer to me, but of course, there will probably be skeptics out there that are saying, oh, you know, I don't trust Bitcoin. I can't hold it in my hand. I'd much rather trust, you know, cash or a gold bar because it's physical. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, bro. But like, I don't think we're going back to a gold system. You know, I don't think we're going back to a gold standard. We all know fiat currencies has failed. This is why they're able to do what they do. And the only thing that will supplant the properties of gold is Bitcoin. And so this is the future that I'm betting on. And I think this is how it's gonna play out. But hey, I would love to see an audit of Fort Knox. Will I trust it? Probably not. But the fact we're seeing this conversation happen and there is panic in the gold markets, I don't know. As the saying goes, when there's smoke, there's fire. So it should be telling people what's actually going on is they might not have the gold that they claim. So you might want to buy some Bitcoin.
Look, we can't claim for certain. Okay, we can't claim for certain. But like, you know, just use common sense, right? 50 years since an audit, right? The first time there's been like a legit audit of any type of government agency, it like the amount of stuff that they found, you know, with Doge and USAID has been bonkers. So are you like just common sense, right? And again, we can only speculate. We don't know for certain, but you think that gold is there, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you think it's there? They've done nothing to make me feel like I should trust them at this point. And anytime any of us tell them like, look, guys, like this is kind of effed up, instead of taking responsibility and saying like, okay, we got to make things better, they gaslight us. They say that what we see isn't real. One of the things that I saw on 60 Minutes lately, I'm going to pass it on to James, was like, you know, Doge has only discovered, you know, like it's only really been like 0.1% of the federal government budget. And if you break that down, that's $37 billion. So the guy on TV is basically trying to justify $37 billion of fraud. You know how many taxpayers you'd have to add up? I think like the average amount of taxes like an American citizen pays throughout his life is like 500,000. Do the math, right? Like just because it's 0.1% of the federal budget, $37 billion of mismanagement and fraud is not okay. It's not okay at all whatsoever. But listen, that's down the politics stuff. That's down the discussion. You know, a lot of the solutions that a lot of these, you know, conservative or liberal channels give you is like vote harder. What the solution that Bitcoiners are giving you is like, look, we actually have a technology now that exists, that it's being used by another government, that you can actually hold an asset on behalf of the nation where it could be fully audited at any given time, allowing full and radical transparency. Because if you don't have that full and radical transparency, it can and will be abused. And history has shown that time and time and time and time again. So what's like the definition of insanity? Trying the same thing and expecting different results. It's time to try plan B. It's time to try Bitcoin. Anyways, James, thank you so much for hearing us rambling on for 25 minutes. Appreciate you joining us on the show today. We got James from Stamp Seed in the house today. We're going to be talking about the Stamp Seed kit during the culture segment. But before we move on to the rest of the show, James, what are your thoughts here? I'm just going to ask you point blank. Do you believe that gold is there at Fort Knox?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's literally impossible for me to think it's there. If you had told me it's been audited every year for the past 50 years, I still wouldn't believe it. And the fact that it hasn't been audited 50 years, why not, right? And I'm sure there's reasons for that. It's against security to come in there and check it out, whatever the case may be. I wouldn't also be surprised if it actually gets audited and the truth doesn't come out, because I feel the repercussions of the gold not being there would be a concern for national security. Because, I mean, let's just like imagine that Fort Knox gets audited and there's no gold there, and that's what the truth is. Based on what Doge has been doing, it's highly likely. Look at what happened with the Department of Education. They audited the spending. They're, everywhere they're going, they're making change, right? U.S. aid, the limestone cavern where federal documents are kept. So people, only 10,000 people at a time can retire. Like, they're actually storing these documents underground somewhere. So Doge is going after things. It seems like what they're going after, either everything's corrupt and messed up, or they know what's corrupt and they're just going after it. So I'm playing a game where it's going to get audited. There's no gold there. It is for people who are, I guess, normies, or haven't been orange pilled yet, or haven't even been red pilled yet. It's going to change their lives. Like, imagine that. Like, Fort Knox, as you mentioned before, it's a symbol, right? It's very symbolic. It's used in movies. It's used to reference having something secure. This guy's got his house locked down like Fort Knox. Like, that's a thing. And when you shatter that, it's something people have been believing their whole lives. And what could happen when you become red pilled. So I think there's the opportunity for that to happen there, which is a little scary, right? I think if that truth came out, I think it's saying a lot. And what on the bright side, though, I guess you get to look at Bitcoin juxtaposed next to it, right? Bitcoin is being spoken about at a much higher level now, federal level, BlackRock, all these financial institutions and whatnot. Now you have a chance to expose gold for what it is, right? One, it was stolen from everybody and someone else is holding it. So we know that doesn't work. Someone else controlling someone's money doesn't work. Whether it's a bank holding your money, fractional reserve banking, it all comes back to bite, us in the ass, society in the ass, basically. So when you're able to see that, okay, what they're saying they're holding isn't even actually there, it stings a little bit harder. And you also just uncover the inefficiencies of gold. And what I like is that Bitcoin is being spoken about as a reserve, strategic reserve. Gold is going to be exposed as an efficient strategic reserve. And I think the combination of people's kind of like lives being turned upside down by the fact that, wow, that gold's not actually there. What else are they lying about? People that haven't really had those experiences yet. Bitcoin's in a perfect position for to take over. Hopefully that's what happens. And like I was saying before, based on what Doge is doing, it seems like it's going to happen. But I just feel like the implications of it could be so serious where maybe the truth doesn't come out. So
100%. And I agree with you. And just to kind of share it, because I like, guys, like I just want, I don't want you guys to feel like, okay, simply is like just going down, because we got so much heat when the election season was happening, and we were just like, guys, like Bitcoin before party, and like we just got so much heat for it. And then it got to a point where the Samurai wallet developers were arrested, and we were just like, look, guys, it's probably a good idea, Trump 2024, RFK 2024, because the Biden admin is just not that great towards Bitcoin, right? But like, you got to say things how they are. Like what Doge discovered was gnarly, right? And like, here's some of the latest data, right, from Social Security, right? So here's Elon posting, according to the Social Security databases. Remember, if you are a W-2 employee, right? If you're a W-2 employee, they automatically take a portion of your paycheck to contribute it to Social Security. Okay. So according to the Social Security database, these are the numbers of people in each age bucket with the pass away field set to false. Maybe Twilight is real, and there are a lot of vampires collecting Social Security. So according to this, there are longer than the country's existed, there's one person who's between 360 to 369 years old that is collecting Social Security benefits. There is someone between 240 and 250 that's collecting Social Security benefits. There's 1,039 people between the ages of 220 to 229 that are collecting Social Security benefits. And it just keeps going. There's 1,345,000,000 people between the ages of 150 and 159 that are collecting Social Security benefits. I think the longest living person was like 129, 122. So common sense here. And then we'll move on to the rest of the show because we got so much content, guys. We got so much content for you guys. If that's Social Security and if that's USAID, are you trying to tell me, that when it comes to gold in Fort Knox, which hasn't been audited in 50 years, everything is perfect, right? That's the argument you're trying to make? No, man. No. Radical transparency or none of this stuff is going to work. It's human nature. If no one is looking, not everyone has integrity, not everyone has morals. If no one is looking, people are just let me take a little bit off the top. It's not going to hurt anybody. But if that starts to accumulate and compound, right, you start to see this massive fraud, which is what I think is being discovered. So, yeah, I agree with James. Like, it could be a national security issue. Like, could you imagine if Elon goes in there and he's like, there's no gold? Like, they can't make that public. They can't make that news public. Like, it would be catastrophic, right? So anyways, Bitcoin fixes this. Bitcoin is the only asset that could truly be held by a government for its people because it could be audited by anyone. You don't have to ask anybody for permission. This is why gold failed. Gold failed because of its physical characteristics. And I think when the world realizes this, we're going to $1 million Bitcoin tomorrow, right? All right, everybody. Before we get the show started, I do want to give a very special shout out to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor. Get this message all the time from everybody. Guys, how do we support the show? Guys, the way that you support the show is by supporting our awesome partners. They're the ones that help us stay on air. Also, shout out to the amazing YouTube audience today. 757 people watching us live on YouTube alone and almost 3,000 live viewers across all platforms. Apparently, you guys like the Fort Knox discussion. Guys, check out bitcoinwell.com. Bitcoinwell.com is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. To get started, you put in your email address. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to get verified and ready to go. And you're ready to buy non-custodial Bitcoin. What makes BitcoinWell different is that it empowers sovereign ownership with free automatic self-custody. They don't even let you leave your Bitcoin on the exchange. You buy Bitcoin on BitcoinWell. As soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. If you're a higher net worth individual and you want the same experience, check out the BitcoinWell Infinite product. It's a white glove service tailored for people who are looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more. So if you're tired of dealing with terrible UI, if you want a real human being every time you want to buy or sell Bitcoin, you want to text them, you want to be able to call them, you have to check out BitcoinWell Infinite. To get started, go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC. Also, if you're an American, you can now get paid directly in Bitcoin sent directly to your personal Bitcoin wallet. Share your Bitcoin wallet direct deposit details with your employer, set your Bitcoin/dollar split, and receive sats instead of fiat with every paycheck. What are you waiting for? Check out bitcoinwell.com. Enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin on chain or via Lightning Network in Canada and the USA. Bitcoinwell.com. All right, everybody, let's hit the numbers. We have tons to talk about.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today.
All right, everybody. You see that QR code, that beautiful QR code on the screen right now? You could scan it, or you can go to stampseed.com. Use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off. Don't write down your seed words on paper. Stamp them into titanium. Promo code SIMPLY, 15% off, stampseed.com. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $95,500. Block height 884,210. Sats per dollar 1,047. Market cap 1.89 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 9.33%. Percentage issued 94.4%. Decline from all-time high negative 12.5%. Ooh, Opti, check that out, bro. Realized monetary inflation under 1%. Air horns, bro. Air horns. So the realized monetary inflation rate of Bitcoin is now under 1%. It's at 0.99%. Continuing to take fiat currencies to absolute school. Anyways, before we play you guys the video that me and Opti and James talk about, I want to ask you guys a question. If you believe that the gold is there at Fort Knox, press 1. If you don't believe that the gold is there at Fort Knox, press 2. Right now, put it in the live chat. Put 2 in the live chat if you believe that the gold at Fort Knox is not there. Just smash that 2. If for whatever reason you do believe that it's there, press 1. And then we'll talk about it. Anyways, guys, here's this amazing clip from the Bitcoin podcast from Walker America. Highly, highly suggest you guys giving him a follow. But essentially, he had a guest on that was making the case that with 0.1 Bitcoin, you're going to be like a multi-millionaire. I thought it was fascinating. I'm going to play out the clip, and then we'll talk about it.
Bitcoin over the last 5 years has returned 55% CAGR. If you get a tenth of a Bitcoin right now, just sit on a tenth of a Bitcoin over, and you know, your audience, I'm sure, is not old farts like me. You're probably younger. Well, guess what? You go 20 years, that's $64 million. That's enough. It's plenty in today's purchasing power. Now, I don't know what it's going to be then. That's cuck bucks. It could be like 200 million. Who knows? Could be buying a cup of coffee. But in today's dollars and purchasing power, that tenth of a Bitcoin is $64 million. Just let it sit there. That's enough. But you know, you're going to struggle to come up with 100 grand when Bitcoin's $1 million a coin. And people that don't understand the train's leaving, anybody that's listening to this or watching it, you're making a bet right now. It's going to be about 30 days until President-elect Trump becomes President Trump. And when he does, if you're betting on the wrong side of this, you're going to have your eyes watered. You're going to sit there, we're going to put the dial on 11, cook noodles, and you're going to be sitting there going, wonder what the fuck.
Walker's face, bro. It says it all. Anyways, I see it in the chat. People want a third option for the gold vote. Yes, if you believe half the gold is there, put 3 in the chat. So if you believe the gold is there, put 1. If you believe the gold isn't there, press 2. If you believe half the gold is there, press 3. Someone in the chat says, I believe this guy's math is wrong. I mean, 64 million. Did he say 64? He said 64, didn't he? That is a lot, bro. That's a lot. Is that on the hopium side of things, Opti? What's your take?
Yes. Like I know we're considered hopium dealers here by our chat constantly, but 64 million for 10 million sats, what would that be for 100 million for a whole coin? What? That's 6.4 billion, I think, per coin, like in 20 years. Now, look, I am as bullish as everyone else can possibly be. I'm as bullish as anyone can possibly be. But 10 million sats, 64 million, like that. Yeah, again, someone check the maths there. Like, that's crazy. But I think, the point does remain the same, that if you do expand your time horizon to 20 years, he did what, 55% CAGR. So, annual compounding growth per year on Bitcoin, 50%. Like, nothing comes close to that. And I know people are like, oh, you're just here for the money. And it's like, look, we're here to protect our purchasing power, considering that the only other option is either saving in fiat, which we know is not a viable option, considering that the recorded number is losing 2% of your purchasing power per year. Yes, there's privacy benefits because you can transact technically cash to cash and, spend your dollars and they can't track you, or you save in gold and it's been pretty much stable forever. It's literally the stable coin right now in the financial system. So look, hey, I would love to see 55% CAGR. And remember Saylor's models, not to take Saylor's word as the holy ghost here, whatever, the holy word of Saylor. But I think his models were anywhere on the lower side to 20% CAGR to his higher models was, I think, 40% CAGR. And he said 42 million by 21 years or something like that. So yeah, if we are on 50% CAGR, like, I'm not good at math. I can't do quick math off the top of my head, but I would venture to say that a smaller amount of Bitcoin is going to be a huge amount in purchasing power in fiat terms in today's dollars. Yes, we can still kind of talk about hyperinflation or inflation concerns and, what will $1 million buy you in 20 years if we do go into a hyperinflationary state. But I think it's kind of safe to say that in today's dollars, any amount of Bitcoin that you hold is going to be a crazy amount of wealth in the future. And I think a lot of us, especially if you see kind of maybe not Bitcoiners, but what you see in the meme coin space, so many people are just concerned with getting rich overnight. This whole meme coin cycle stuff, which we are going to cover a story on today's show. Everyone literally is going into meme coins and trying to get rich in like 6 to 12 hours. And here as Bitcoiners, we're playing the long game and we're just like, look, we want to transition from the broken monetary system we are to a better monetary system. And this isn't going to play out in 6 to 12 hours. This is going to play out over decades. And you want to be acquiring, digital real estate on Bitcoin. You want to be playing Hungry Hippo, Pac-Man with Bitcoin, hold it for as long as possible, because I'm convinced that in the future, 10, 20 years from now, any amount of Bitcoin you're holding today is going to be a significant amount of purchasing power in the future. And that's kind of what we're trying to do, protect your wealth as we kind of, grow up as a movement and start to garner more political power, more financial power. Like, this is how we win, is by accumulating the best money or the best currency or the best asset, however you want to frame it personally. And hey, look, I don't know, 64 million for 10 million, like, that is some next level grade A hopium as far as I'm concerned, Nico, but I love the math. I love it.
Guys, we have 185 likes so far on the YouTube chat. Help us break 300 likes by the end of the show. So if you guys are enjoying, we just broke 700 live viewers on YouTube alone. Also, shout out to the 2,200 of you guys watching live on X, and the roughly 100 or so of you guys watching live on Rumble. Smash that like button. Help us break 300 likes by the time the show ends. So if you guys are enjoying the content, smash that like button. I'm going to pass it on to James. James, that was some great hopium, wasn't it? Was he overly optimistic, overly bullish? I mean, I think he got the math right with the CAGR, but do you see Bitcoin having a 50% CAGR for the next 20 years? I think the Saylor's argument was initially it's going to have 60%, and then it's going to start to tail down until it reaches like 20, 30%. So what do you think, James?
Oh, man, it does seem like a lot. I really don't know though. Like it's in terms of today's dollars, right? 50 years from now, today's dollars, right? If things keep happening the way they are, it's not really relative to what 64 million looks like today. So I really don't know. But I mean, ultimately, the Bitcoin that you have now, imagine that it's worth. I heard this a while back. I think it comes from. I think MBK might have said it. Imagine your Bitcoin 10x. The Bitcoin that you hold right now, imagine it being 10x, right? That like what you have in your wallet right now, imagine that being 10x. So with that being said, buy more Bitcoin now, buy as much as you can, put it in cold storage, back up your private keys properly, and then just delay gratification as long as you possibly can. We've been following Bitcoin for a while. A lot of us have been through the ups and downs, but over a long period of time, Bitcoin's been very good to us. If you extend that time horizon further, it's going to get even better. I don't know what the number is. I hate getting into price predictions. It does seem a little bit overly bullish. I'm more in line with what Saylor saying, just because I've listened to Saylor a lot longer. Nothing other than that. But delay gratification as long as you can. Maybe it's 64 million for 1/10 of Bitcoin, or for full Bitcoin. We just know it's going up.
Yeah, facts. Okay, and someone fact checked me. Okay, I was doing quick math, wrong math. One Bitcoin would be worth $640 million per coin if 0.1 BTC was 64 million. So
also breaking.
Yeah,
James James predicts $1 million Bitcoin in 2025. Breaking news. Air horns, Opti, please.
I'm on the price prediction bandwagon now. I'll take 1 million though. That's conservative, right?
Man.
Under promise, over deliver. Hopefully that's what happens in that case.
Yeah. So I mean, I think
what are you guys talking about? It's already $1 trillion per sat.
So we should ask the chat. We should ask the chat, guys, if you think Walker's guest was overly bullish, press 1 in the chat. If you think he was overly bearish, drop 2 in the chat. Let us know. We'll talk about it.
And I'm doing official audits of the numbers in the chat, guys. Just to be clear.
So drop 1 if you think it was overly bullish, and drop 2 if you think it was overly bearish. And drop 3 if you think he was spot on. Just drop those numbers in the chat and we'll tally it up. Also, shout out to there's 3,070 of you guys watching live, 730 alone on YouTube. And shout out, of course, to our Rumble audience. We love you all. We appreciate you guys. You guys are watching Simply Bitcoin Live. Smash the like button if you guys are enjoying the content. Next up, we're going to be talking about Javier Milei's meme coin scandal. It was just holy cow. Like it was terrible. The definition of a pump and dump. We got more information. Apparently it's making a recovery. Dave Portnoy was in on it. Apparently he had some type of involvement. I have this thread. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that all this is happening. And I'll tell you what, guys, in regards to meme coins, like, what is the difference between a Trump meme coin or a Milei meme coin and the dollar, right? Like, I'd say the only difference is that the dollar has multiple presidents on it. That's it. It's essentially the same thing. They could just create out of thin air, right? It's just like there's like this social contract that everyone is accepting dollars, but Bitcoin really is like the only sound money. Bitcoin's the only money that you just can't create more of, right? That's the differentiating factor. Like, I don't care if you're the U.S. government. I mean, look at all the things that we just talked about at the first beginning of the show. I don't want to repeat myself, but it's like, you know, let's just say, like, I don't really trust them very much. I don't think that they deserve that. We confided in the government to not abuse the money, and they've abused that trust. They've abused it, plain and simple, right? So yeah, I think meme coins are just accelerating hyper Bitcoinization because it's waking up people to the reality of what is money. And I think that once you ask the question, what is money? You ask the question, what is government? Can you pull up that comment, Opti? I thought it was pretty cool. BTC Believer says the dollar is a government-sponsored and accepted shitcoin. Beautifully said. I might steal that for a tweet. All right, everybody, let's move on to the news segment. We will be right back. Like I said, we have tons to cover on today's show. We're going to be uncovering Malay's meme coin extravaganza. And then during the culture segment, we're going to be talking about the stamp seed. Guys, you got to store your generational wealth properly. You got to store your seed phrase properly. With great power comes great responsibility. So stay tuned. We have a ton of content for you guys.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Casa. Bitcoin security matters, but managing private keys can sometimes be complicated, especially multi-sig. What if you can secure your Bitcoin without worrying about losing a seed phrase or giving up custody? With Casa, you can completely control your Bitcoin with multi-key security, so even if one key is lost or stolen, your funds stay safe. No single point of failure, no stress. That's what I absolutely love about these guys. They make taking Bitcoin into self-custody incredibly easy with their best in industry user experience through their app. I've been personally recommending Casa for years now to my friends and family because they will get all the benefits of multi-key self-custody security without the hassle of having to learn complicated UI. And if you're thinking of one day passing on your Bitcoin to the next generation, their inheritance plan has you covered. Also, if you're a business looking to add Bitcoin to your treasury, do it the secure way with Casa for Business. To get started, go to casa.io today and get 5% off Casa Standard or Casa Premium with promo code SIMPLY. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation. It's self-custody done right. They've built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US, and it integrates seamlessly with their free app called Envoy. Passport is fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a classic feature phone, so you'll know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. It's also air-gapped, meaning Bitcoin stays offline, never touching an internet connection. It's Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, air-gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes with Passport at foundation.xyz/simply. Get peace of mind for your piece of Bitcoin.
Look at the beautiful Opti holding the Passport by Foundation devices. If you use promo code SIMPLY, you won't get Opti, but you will get a discount to the Passport by Foundation devices. Not your keys, not your cheese. Scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to the Passport by Foundation devices website where you guys can get yourself a passport and take self-custody of your Bitcoin. Passport makes self-custody easy. It doesn't sacrifice security for convenience. Check it out. Passport by Foundation devices. Promo code SIMPLY. All right, everybody, let's jump into today's news. We have tons to cover. Yes, I mean, what was happening with President Javier Milei was absolutely, I mean, the chart speaks for itself. Take a look at that. If that is not the definition of a pump and dump, I don't know what is. This is when it was announced. This is when it pumped, and this is when it dumped. Apparently, it's having a little bit of a little comeback moment here. Apparently, but yeah, I mean, absolutely wrecked anybody who bought this. Absolutely destroyed. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Here is more context from a Yahoo Finance article. Malay pushes crypto token, then deletes post amid fears of scam. I mean, President Javier Milei advertised a crypto token he said was meant to help local Argentine businesses, but his support was met with widespread concern about a potential scam, and then he deleted the post. Milei initially promoted the Libra token late Friday in a post on X, saying the money raised would go to help small and medium-sized companies in Argentina, and stressing that the project was privately run. In a text message, he added that he would reap no personal financial benefit from the venture. The token's name appeared to be in reference to Milei's political party, La Libertad Avanza, or his libertarian roots as an economist. Milei told Bloomberg he met with the company behind the coin, KIP Protocol, months ago. The company's website included a blog post featuring a selfie with its co-founder and the Argentine president giving a thumbs up, dated October 20th. The token's launch was not handled by KIP. According to a post on the company's X account, we did not profit a single cent from today's activity. So where did all this go then, bro? Where did all this go? Where did all this go then? Where did it all go? Oh, man. The gold is in Fort Knox also. Community notes published on X, the social media platform about Elon Musk, cautioned people against the coin. Crypto sands, often called rug pulls, are rife on social media. Milei deleted the initial post 5 hours later, saying he was, quote, not aware of the details of the project. And after having become aware of it, I decided not to continue spreading the word. Despite being a Wall Street darling, Milei has so far struggled to lure foreign investment and continues to continue. But anyways, yeah, not a good look. I was a big fan when this gentleman was elected. But it seems like Bukele was the only one that has been doing it right. Here's a thread that says this keeps getting worse. Hayden Davis, an insider behind the meme coin endorsed by Javier Milei, said they made more or less $110 million. Some insiders were reimbursed $5 million, while retail saw negative 4.4 billion of market cap erased. What is happening here? An exclusive interview with Hayden Davis, the leader insider behind Libra, was just released by CoffeeZilla. As seen in the clip below, Hayden says he now has more or less 100 million in cash, 11 million in tokens, 13 million in fees. Total cash is $113 million. Here's a clip.
It too?
No. How much money do y'all have sitting on the sidelines?
No. It's like like more or less 100 mil. Like right around there. And I guess there's fees too. So there's probably I don't know the number, but it's probably like 11 million or so in tokens and like 13 in fees. So let's say like 110-ish.
Effing crazy. But it gets worse. Hayden admits that he was part of the launch of Melania Trump's meme coin. After the launch of Libra, wallet P5TB4 sent $2.4 million of profits to O0XCEA, a Melania insider's wallet. The same insiders cashed in millions on Melania. Now that we know OXCEA is likely both a Melania and Libra insider wallet, this makes more sense. It goes on to say OXCEA is also linked to wallet DEFCYK, an insider that cashed out $87 million on Libra's launch day. In fact, not only is DEFCYK an insider, it's the creator of Libra. Hayden admits insiders traded on non-public information, which is a violation of securities law. He also said that they used insider access to snipe price control liquidity and influence price action. This is a clear confession of market manipulation, and it keeps getting worse. Dave Portnoy revealed that Hayden refunded $5 million of losses on Libra. Hayden claims that this is his personal money and not related to the $110 million. Now, here's one of the latest things. Dave Portnoy says, P.S. I rugged myself. I'm buying the wrong Libra this league. And then he says, what the F is going on? Javier Milei is just back Libra again. Am I going to get rugged twice on the same coin? I can't believe I'm buying again this league. WTF, be careful, trenchers. And apparently that's some type of government official saying, look, like this is how you buy Libra. And it pumped apparently 1,000% when that happened. And I think you guys could see that latest little tiny pump right here. Where is it? I'm scrolling. This one right here. So yeah, I mean, or you could just buy Bitcoin. I don't know what else to say. Like, that's crazy. And you know, like one thing is like Javier Milei, and it's like, okay, you know, this is coming from Argentina, and like, okay, you can make the argument for it. But like Trump did this too. So did his wife. Now the president of I did not have this on my radar. Like in 2017, if you would have told me, Nico, the year is 2025 and presidents are launching shitcoins and dumping it on everybody, I would have said that is not possible. That is not true. So shout out to, I got to give credit where credit is due. Shout out to Bukele. Shout out to Max and Stacy, what they're doing with the Bitcoin office. It seems like El Salvador is the only country who's doing it right and ethically. And they have a transparent reserve like we've been talking about in the early part of the show. Seems like from my perspective, I mean, changed a little bit with the concessions that they made to the IMF. But it seems like so far, El Salvador is the only Bitcoin country that I could see. I know that the United States is moving forward. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for pulling that up, Opti, right? The Libra, the official Trump, and then Bitcoin. Exactly. So, yeah, man. Shitcoins and fiat, they feel like they're the exact same thing, in my opinion. Anyways, I'm going to pass it on to James. James, what are your thoughts on this, brother?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it just amazes me that, you know, after 2022, SBF collapse and all that, you know, controversy, that fraud that was going on, it amazes me that shitcoining is still happening. Like, it really is surprising to me. And I guess that's just a new wave of people coming in, right? But ultimately, I think it's just the high tide preference, you know, instant gratification that people want now, right? Like, a lot. I think shitcoins, why are they still around, right? People just want to get rich quick. That's really what it comes down to. And it's surprising seeing who's doing it now. Presidents, right? Like, like you said, like going back in time, like saying that would be happening, crazy to think, and it is. And we're just like, oh, okay, it's like nonchalant, like, oh, Trump launched a coin, Melania launched a coin. It's like this stuff just kind of happens, and I don't even think much of it, but it's kind of funny. But I guess I kind of ask my own question: why is shitcoining still happening? Because I guess it's reached a new level, right? Like it went from exchanges, you know, being insolvent, or you know, just shitcoins with you know, tech-minded founders or foundations behind that people trusted. That didn't work out. So now it's Melania Trump, Donald Trump, Malay coins that, you know, people, you know, maybe it's a different level of trust, or maybe it's just that they feel those coins will be successful now because the government's behind that coin. It's actually their coin. So I feel like it's just leveled up shitcoining, and it's tricking those same people again, because it's just a much higher level. I think it's really interesting. But looking back on it, like Malay, you know, I liked him, right? He seemed like exactly what, you know, the world needs more of. But when you look back on it now, it's just like, I'm like, he always kind of had that crazy look in his eye. And, you know, like when you look back, you're like, oh yeah, you know, the shitcoining is there to a certain degree. And it's just, I guess the biggest problem, along as people go along with it, right? There's just, most people are equipped to consume because the dollars that they're saving in, or the currency they're saving, is becoming debased and worth less. So buy now, buy as many assets as you can, or live day to day, because that's all you can do. And you know, it's obviously that's you know, a huge problem. And I think these people are thinking, okay, I missed Bitcoin, I got scammed on all these other shit coins. Now Trump has a coin, or Belay's behind a coin. This is going to be something good. I might get scammed again. I probably won't, but I'm going to try to make a lot of money really quick and see what happens, and try to catch up to the people that got Bitcoin early. And I'm just surprised the cycle's repeating itself, but I guess it's just like I said before, shitcoin reached a new level, and different people are saying, get behind this coin, and maybe it means something differently. to them, and that's why it's happening. But shouldn't be. Buy Bitcoin. That's the only coin for me. I don't like coins that other people could create or get behind. That's what the dollar is. Buy something that no one could take away from you. You can go to sleep at night knowing the CEO isn't going to, go speeding 100 miles per hour into a wall or do something stupid.
100%. Someone, by the way, James, someone in the chat said, is Stamp Seed available in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to our on our website, there's a reseller section. There's some international resellers that could be close to your area, but we could certainly ship it to you. Shipping's going to be a little expensive. It's going to take a little time, but check out some of our resellers. I think there's one in Amsterdam. I guess that's kind of close. So you can get Stamp Seed in the UK, but you can't comment anything bad on social media there still. So at least Stamp Seed is still there.
Opti, I know that you're a huge fan of Javier Milei, and I know that you've personally advocating for the Libra token using your handle. I heard that you were an insider. Is any of that true?
All fake news. Nico spreading fake news again. Man, look, this saga is not, it shouldn't really be a news story, especially if you've been a Bitcoiner for a long time. It's just that now, since it's coming from Javier Milei, it's like it's actually a news story. And also, I saw this morning that he's officially being sued for fraud as well this morning. So things are at least this cycle seemingly moving a lot quicker. But man, first of all, it's a huge disappointment. I think it's starting to give a lot of credence to a lot of people, more of the cynics, I guess, that you would call that on Twitter, that's saying that Javier Milei was essentially using the libertarian free markets rhetoric to kind of put himself in a position. And ever since then, he's not really living up to it. And I think this might be the final nail in the coffin where he's scamming, billions of dollars in his shitcoin. And for anyone that's saying that he was being, coerced into this, I think that's a bunch of BS as far as I'm concerned. We've seen this cycle play out in shitcoin land for a long time. It's only evolved recently, and love him or hate him, but the artist formerly known as Kanye West, aka Ye, did a screenshot on his crazy Twitter rants about the fact that shitcoiners are out there trying to rug pull their audience, and they pay them money, and then after a couple of hours they say, oops, my account got hacked, and we're going to scam the public. So if you are still doing what Dave Portnoy is doing, he's got to be the biggest idiot in the Bitcoin space at this point. Obviously he's a gambler, so he's got to know, he's gambling. But the fact that people think that this is something they're going to actually get rich, it just keeps showing why Bitcoiners do what we do constantly. And this is why there is so much hate towards shitcoins. And, there's people that come into our channel and sometimes, and they're crypto adjacent. So yeah, but Bitcoin and other projects, why you guys hate on other projects? And it's because this is 99% of the quote unquote crypto industry. It's nothing but scams. It's nothing but rug pulls. And there's that meme that goes around now with a screenshot where someone's frustrated, lost all their wealth, and they're like, is there any projects that aren't rug pulls? And someone's like, yeah, you idiot, it's called Bitcoin. That's the only thing that isn't going to rug pull you. But as the saying goes, the fastest way to become a quote unquote Bitcoin maxi is by putting your hand on the stove and going through the shitcoin rug pulls, the shitcoin Minecraft here. And it's just incredible that we've gotten to this point and that it's presidential candidates running their own shitcoins. This is absolutely insane. As we've been saying for a long time, it looks like the degeneracy that we kind of encounter in the initial coin offerings of 2017 era, they've obviously transformed for 2021 era. It was like monkey JPEGs. Now we've gotten to, official presidential Wall Street shitcoins. And as much as I would love to believe that the degeneracy of shitcoin land is going to fade away, I think we're starting to enter a whole new level of degeneracy, which is being backed by Wall Street. And man, the fact that they're getting caught this quickly, I think maybe is a good thing, or more of a hopeful thing. And most people will avoid the casino and not get rugged. And literally, this is why we're Bitcoiners. I got rugged in 2017 when I was new and green, and I had to learn. And now this is why I'm like, guys, just buy Bitcoin. Doesn't matter what the flavor of the coin is. There's almost 12 million coins now, and only one of them is legit, and it's called Bitcoin. So it shouldn't really be news. I think it's just news because of how big of a profile figure this is, and that he did the official I'm interested. What's the free market think about this coin? And then 6 hours later, he's like, I got hacked. I'm not affiliated with it. It's like, bro, this is the story as old as time in the Bitcoin space. It's absolutely insane.
100%. I want to also give a shout out to the super chat by ROKVTM. Appreciate the $4.99. I just want my name up here. Well, you got your name up here, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to the culture segment. We're going to be talking about stamp seed. Guys, the price of Bitcoin, I still believe the bull market's going. Your net worth might be 2 or 3 times as much where it is right now by the end of the year, depending on how things go. It's incredibly important, if you take self-custody of your Bitcoin, to do it the correct way. And the best way to do that is by taking self-custody. But when you take self-custody, that comes with a tremendous amount of responsibility. And with that responsibility, you can make mistakes. And there is no 1-800 number to call. So you want to do it properly. And the stamp seed is one of those tools that you can add to your arsenal in becoming a sovereign individual. So guys, we're going to be right back. We're going to talk all culture, all stamp seed, all James. We'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, HIVE Digital Technologies. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's been battle tested through every possible market. And as the first with an AI strategy, HIVE continues to redefine the future of sustainable energy. Also, gotta casually drop this in here, HIVE consistently tops the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're changing the game. Learn more by following them at HIVE Digital Tech or check out their website, hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor, Compass Mining. They make Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone, from beginners to experienced investors. Their turnkey miners gets you online and hashing within 48 hours, making it easier than ever to start your mining journey. Plus, with their active marketplace, you can resell your miner at any time, adding flexibility and value to your investment. Visit their website to access a wealth of resources, learning everything you need to know about Bitcoin mining. Take your first step into the world of Bitcoin mining with confidence. Discover more at compassmining.io. Again, compassmining.io, and see how Compass Mining can power your success.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We got James in the house. Stampseed.com, baby. All right, I am pulling it up. All right, guys. So if you're new to the channel, if you don't know what the Stamp Seed Kit is, the Stamp Seed Kit is what you want to get if you want to maintain your relationship with your grandchildren. Because the last thing that you want to do, right, is you get older, that paper that you write down your seed words on, it gets older, it gets all gray, and you know how paper gets all yellow and stuff. And, your grandchildren are looking at you and they look at you in the eyes. Hold on, I have to make myself full screen. They're like, Grandpapa, I know you bought Bitcoin in 2020. Are you going to pass it on to me, Grandpapa? And, you're like, yeah, of course. I have my Sparrow wallet, I have my Electrum wallet. I'm going to pass it on to them. But then you look and that paper, because it's going to be 30 years from now, is all, you can't even read the words. You can't even give the next generation your Bitcoin. So you definitely don't want to put yourself in that situation, which is why you want to properly secure your generational wealth. And this is exactly why we've partnered up with the Stamp Seed Kit, thestampseed.com. Stamp your seed into titanium. It comes with the letter to stamping tools, comes with the hammer time, and you literally hammer each individual letter into a plate of titanium. And I've seen this question before. You do this in the privacy of your own home. All right. You don't send your seed phrase to the stamp seed guys. No. You get the entire kit mailed to your home, the hammer, the anvil, all the letter stamping tools, and you stamp your seed into titanium so that it survives the test of time. They've put a blowtorch to this thing. They put it in a pit of coals. They put it in the ocean for 24 hours, and the words have survived. All right. This is how I personally store my seed words. I put it into titanium. I don't write them down on paper. I know this is what Opti does. This is the way that this is how you should secure your generational wealth. If you're taking self-custody, you got to do it. So anyways, head over to stampseed.com or scan the QR code on your screen. And I want to take advantage of James being on the show today. If you guys have any questions for James, please drop them in the live chat. We'll try to answer them live. But James, let's walk through the process, right? So someone gets a hardware wallet, and the hardware wallet usually comes with a piece of paper. And people, that's like their first. Most people, they get a ledger at first, right? And they get a ledger. They write down their seed words on a piece of paper, and they're like, okay, my Bitcoin is secure. Can you explain to them why that's a bad idea? Why they shouldn't write it down on paper? Why they should make the investment, because it is an investment, into really leveling up their self-custody setup.
Right. Each wallet's coming with a piece of paper, so you're automatically being set up for failure, right? Like, paper isn't going to stand the test of time. It's going to burn in the fire. It's not going to survive water, anything like that. It's paper, right? You're comparing that to titanium, one of the strongest metals on earth. So those seed words are extremely important. Your wallet's very important, but ultimately your seed words are everything. If that wallet, you buy your, hopefully, it's a really good air gapped open source Bitcoin only wallet. That's first what you're going to want to set yourself up with. Get one of those. But if that wallet became destroyed, lost, stolen, it breaks, electronics break, right? They don't last forever. It gets wet, whatever the case may be, you lose it. You can't call up Ledger and ask them for another one with your money on that. It's completely gone. But your seed words are going to be able to regenerate that private key and spin up those funds if that wallet became lost, destroyed, stolen in any other wallet. So if you bought a Ledger, you can then move it to a different wallet, like a Trezor after the fact. Your seed words are pretty much everything, right? And if you have that on paper and that gets destroyed, these are the stories you hear of people lost their Bitcoin, right? They can't get to it. I was actually listening to a YouTube video the other day with Tom Brady was being asked about FTX and then Bitcoin, and he's saying he lost it. He can't get it. He can't get to his wallet. It's gone. Maybe it's gone. Who knows? But he could have easily lost access to either his wallet or seed words. So obviously, having it on paper is not timeless. When you're buying Bitcoin, you're buying this to store it, hopefully put it in cold storage and have it there long term. And you need to make sure you have a medium that lines up with that long term form of thinking. Having it on a post-it piece of paper isn't going to cut it. But conveniently enough, stamp seed plates are the size of a post-it, and you could pretty much hammer each letter into there the same way, I guess, as writing it on the paper, right? When you write it on the paper, your ink or your pencil lead gets into contact with that paper. When you're stamping your seed words to titanium, it's actually becoming part of that metal. You're not laying like letters into it. You're actually slamming letters into that plate. So it's going to be there forever. It kind of goes hand in hand. I always think to myself, like, when you're buying hardware wallet to back up your Bitcoin, like, why is paper being sold with it? It really doesn't make sense to me. But I guess you have to put something in there, right? As a hardware wallet provider, you have to put something for them to record it on. Metal is expensive. A kit's probably expensive, so they're not doing that. But don't think that it's normal to store it on that paper, right? Just because they're giving you the paper doesn't mean that that's the way to go about doing things. You have to upgrade what you're storing your seed words are. And a lot of people, are thinking like, okay, I'm buying Bitcoin. Now I'm buying a hardware wallet that could be anywhere from, I don't know, like $70 to $200. then I have to buy a stamp seed kit or something similar. Let's call that $100 or $200. So you're kind of doing this math in your head, where does it really make sense to back up what I'm holding? But think about it. You're sending your coins to cold storage to hold them long term for generations. Set it up, the best way possible, where you don't have to make any changes to it in the future. So seed words are extremely important. I know people try to memorize them too. That's great. You can. I like to do that as like a second backup, or if I can't get to my plate or wherever the case may be. But memory fades too, right? Just because we're sharp today doesn't mean we'll be sharp 20 years from now, let's say. So you have to have it on a metal plate. So one, you don't forget them, and then you have to store that plate in a very smart area so you don't lose it, or deploy some sort of multi-sig or Shamir backup, or 2 of 3 splitting. Some way to not have all your eggs in one basket and on one plate. But having the right protocol in place to make sure you can get your funds 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, 2 or 3 generations from now, is the most important thing. And paper is not going to cut it when it comes to doing something like that. Electronics are a no-no. You're never storing your seed phrase on a device. It's one of the worst things you could do. Screenshotting it on your phone, storing it in the cloud. Things that are probably happening with hot wallets. If you're getting a cold storage hardware wallet, your words need to stay offline, as I say, and off paper too, and on titanium. And there's other metal backups out there too, right? And in my opinion, I always say any metal backup is better than a paper backup, but not all metal backups are going to be equal on top of that. What makes Stampseed unique, as I was talking about before, is you're stamping the letters into that metal. And there's a lot of other options out there that you're getting pre-stamped letters and you're laying them into metal, and then you're getting into the issue of having multiple pieces. And multiple pieces is a nightmare. The less pieces, the better it is, for a lot of different reasons. Heat expansion. If the device were to bend, things could fall out. With the Stampseed, that doesn't happen. There's other types of metal backups out there too. Some of them are kind of like grids, where you have x-axis and a y-axis, I guess, and you have letters and numbers on there, and you hit the corresponding box that basically spells out the letter for you, and you just hit the plate with a dot, which is still good, but one, it's a pain to decipher. 2, you're relying on the grid etching. If that were to fade or become corroded over time, it could be very difficult to decipher what your words are. So that's that. And I think I might saw someone asking about lowercase and special characters. Those will be coming out soon. That's been highly requested. That'll be out sometime this year, hopefully. You could do more things like stamping your entire passphrase, stamping your Nostr keys, and things like that. So yeah, sword on titanium, and hold it over time, and it'd be more valuable than the gold that's not.
The one question I saw in the chat was, James, will the Stampseed survive a boating accident?
It will, but you might not be able to find it, whether that might be intentional or on purpose. And speaking of water, Nico, it was a year we did that test in the water. I think you said 24 hours. We did it for a whole year.
You put a plate in salt water for an effing year, and the data survived.
So for a year, it was kind of funny. It was a good test. It was exactly a year. Off of the shore of Long Island, in the water. And it's kind of funny. If you look on our Twitter page, under our highlight section, when it's being pulled out, it looks like something out of Swamp Thing. It's covered in algae and muck, and it just looks like this bowl of grime from the ocean. And that's what it looked like coming out. And then Adam's doing that video. He ended up scrubbing up the plate, and it looks cleaner than it looked when it went in. It actually came out better once it was cleaned up, which is great. Yeah, there it is. There's this.
Look at that! Look at that! Yeah, look at that! Keep going off the next picture. Look at that! It's all gunky, and the ocean's taking over. You're like, oh my god, And then they cleaned it up. Look at that! Look at that!
No rust. Right? You don't want this thing corroding, rusting, degrading over time. This goes to say that you could bury these things in the ground in maybe not recommended in all areas because they're shifting underground, but you could have it submerged in the water. You could have it buried underground. it's not going to corrode, and obviously there's no crevices for things to hide in and break down the integrity of or seize the device up. It's just like a solid plate. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, it's so simple, right? Like, it's a super simple thing, but super important. And simple is better when it comes to backing up your words. Like, don't like overcomplicate it. And yeah, like no pitting from with titanium. It's super strong metal. Like, this is what people are using to build spaceships, on airplanes. Like, this is a highly trusted metal, and now you could use it to back up your Bitcoin. It's better to have your Bitcoin on a titanium plate than it is to have gold, in my opinion. That's the metal that I want. Titanium, but only if Bitcoin.
Exactly. And could you imagine that conversation as well, right? With with the next generation. It's like, Grandpapa, do you have a Bitcoin? It's like, yeah. And you hand them over a stamp seed, plate. They'll be very, very happy that you did that. Also want to give a shout out to Ron P for the super chat. Appreciate the $10. Apparently it was to buy Opti a coffee. Boo, 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 boo. Anyhow, guys, go to stampseed.com today. Don't mess around with your generational wealth. Don't write down your seed words on paper. Stamp them onto titanium. The stamp seed kit comes with everything you'll need. Comes with the anvil. Comes with the letter stamping tools. Comes with a very special hammer. James, could you talk about why that hammer is special? Hammer time.
Yeah, preface by saying that right now the hammer is so popular that like it's out of stock. We should have more back within a couple of weeks, so you'll be able to grab the hammer then. But we also sell the kit without the hammer for people that already have one. A lot of people have a toolbox in their garage or their shed, so you could use a regular claw hammer with it, but it's a lot more difficult to do it that way. And it sounds like some sort of thing the guy from the company would say, right? But it's not the case. Like, we're a company of metal stampers. We innovate metal stamping tools that are meant to actually stamp letters into metal. One of the biggest, most important tools for that is a metal stamping hammer, which you can see in the picture there. That's actually our patented design on that. And what you have there are a couple different things that make it easier to stamp deeper into metal. The most important thing is the brass tip on it. So brass is a softer metal than the letter stamps, and it's a softer metal than titanium. So when you're hammering it, that brass is actually going to absorb the shock of the hit. The hammer is going to get dented, but the stamp is going to go deeper into the metal. You have a shorter handle. Think about it. If you're using, like I said before, you could use a regular claw hammer to do this, the hammer that your dad had or the hammer that's in your garage. It'll work, but that long handle makes it difficult to be accurate, right? And you have to swing a lot harder with that sort of hammer. So one, you're further away from the point you're stamping, so inaccuracy becomes a thing. With a shorter handle, you're choking up on it, just like you would back in the day choke up on the baseball bat when you're younger to get a really good hit when you're learning. So this hammer's set up for someone learning, I guess you could say. Also, all the weight is at the top of the hammer. It's not distributed throughout the handle. It's at the top. So 2-pound heavy weight on top means you don't have to swing super hard like you would with the claw hammer. You can kind of just like knock it in because all your weight is going to be right above the point of contact. And, as a nice add, it's got like an angle to the handle, so you could stamp while sitting down and things like that. But makes it a lot easier. You can do it without that hammer, though, but it's probably going to take longer and the results won't be as good. And inaccuracy could lead to, some problems too, right? With this hammer that we sell with it, it's super accurate.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Yeah, man. It's, guys, store your, I can't emphasize this enough because you just can't say it enough times. You got to store your generational wealth properly. It's not only about getting yourself a hardware wallet. We obviously recommend Passport by Foundation Devices, open source, incredibly easy to use without sacrificing security. But you got to store your seed phrase properly, right? Which is why we recommend the Stamp Seed Kit. Use promo code SIMPLY. You get 15% off anything off the store. It comes with everything you'll need. I want to give a very special shout out to the entire audience who tuned into Simply Bitcoin today. 3,700 live viewers currently. 400 live viewers on Rumble. A shout out to the Rumble audience. If you guys are new, smash the like button. Consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin. We love you all. We appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for the super chats, the support. I'm your host, Nico. This was Simply Bitcoin Live for February 17, 2025. is our special guest for today, James from Stamp Seed. Again, use promo code SIMPLY, stampseed.com. And my legendary co-host, co-founder, Optimus Fields, in the co-host seat today. And we'll be back tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.